ABC Radio Canberra. And at this time of the year, or I suppose end of the year, Gooch Week, New Year, do you sometimes feel that you need someone to just swoop on in your life and just say, do this, do that, and here's how, shop around for cheaper bills, improve your grocery shopping habits, clean your filters and your gutters, I don't know, those kind of things that kind of help you get into the new year just feeling like you've got things sorted, that you've got your life together. Luckily, Susanne Tiba, a professional organiser, was available for us today. Susanne, thank you so much for your time.
No worries. Happy to be there.
Firstly, such a fantastic job title, such a fantastic job. How did you become a professional organiser?
Because I always knew I could. And I started 18 years ago. Wow. And I knew I was very good in sticking a lot of people into a very small house.
What do you mean by that?
3 kids, inner Western Sydney, small house, you just needed to find ways to live with 5 people in a reasonably small house. And having less stuff and being very organised in tasks and in stuff helped.
Okay, so what do the people that hire you, what do you help them with?
Getting started.
That's surely got to be the hardest part.
Yes, the getting started actually is picking up the phone and ringing someone and asking for help, which is the hardest part. Once people have done that, it's all easier from there on. But very often people have tried themselves, they've followed a show, read a book, but it is doing it, sticking to it, not losing your track, getting over the procrastination and providing real solutions, as in, I know this can be recycled there. I do know you're not going to make much money on eBay. So just saying this works, this doesn't work, and giving a little bit of guidance into that.
So what do you say to someone who does pick up the phone and call you and they're kind of looking out at their living room and there's just piles upon piles of things, old documents, perhaps things that they can't quite let go of? How do you get somebody, I guess, from that first step of calling you to the next practical steps of, organising everything?
So I'm an in-house service. Most professional organisers are. I would come to their house and then we'd basically have a little bit of a chat to get to know each other, because there's a huge amount of trust. It's very invasive to invite someone into your house to snoop through your drawers.
Yeah.
And then it's a system and saying, okay, every item needs a decision. Let's start with this pile. Don't look at the rest of the house. Just focus on that one pile. Let's do half an hour on this, or it might be an hour. And we declutter first and we organize second. They're 2 different processes. And if you muddle them into one, your brain has to do 2 many different decisions constantly. Whereas with decluttering, it's kind of just, do I need it? Can I let it go? That's the basic decision. And the stuff that you think you need then gets organized in the second process.
I mean, already that distinction feels like quite a breakthrough, that those are 2 completely separate processes and it really does divide up that overwhelming decision-making into smaller chunks.
Yeah.
What are some of the hardest things to, I guess, keep organised and keep on top of?
Everyone is different and everyone has their pet clutter. I have a lot of shoes and cookie cutters. My husband has a lot of tools. I think in general, people find paperwork the hardest, despite this notion that we are paperless. We actually are not. There's a huge respect for the written word, whether that's in the instruction for a toaster, which no one needs, because no one needs an instruction for a toaster, because it's very straightforward. Also, you can find it on the internet, to books which are meant to be kept in most people's life, in most people's head. So getting rid of books and making that decision is very hard. There's often so much story and so much, I read this when I was there.
Yeah.
So we're going into the sentimental with books that often tick all the boxes. But paperwork is the most, I run public workshops and I ask, what's your biggest clutter problem? 30% say paperwork still. Yeah.
That is so interesting. And just on what you said about the sentimentality attached to some objects, it might be, like you said, a book or a letter that they've received from somebody. How do you go about navigating those emotional connections when somebody just doesn't want to throw out anything because of that connection?
So you don't need to throw out anything. If you don't have a problem with your clutter, and clutter is very personal. It's kind of, you might enter a friend's house and say, oh my God, it's clutter. The friend itself doesn't have a clutter problem because they don't see it that way. And we have it in our families too. I have a clutter problem when my kids are a little bit older now. I had teenagers. They don't see the clutter. They don't have a clutter problem. It's the parents who have the clutter problem. So that's a first. So you theoretically can keep what you want. But if it impacts your life and how you live your life because you can't walk through your house, or you constantly have the feeling, oh no, I can't go to the beach this weekend, I have to declutter my bookshelf. That's impacting your lifestyle. That's when you should start doing something about it. And with sentimental, you could say, I'm living in a small house. I have one box per person. That's it. I'm living in a huge house. I have a shelf per person. And also curate it. If you keep everything, nothing is important. And especially not to the next generation. If they don't, for the sheer volume of sentimental values from grandpa, grandma, and you yourself, your kids will not know the tree from the woods and just chuck everything, because it's hard to make a connection to a vast amount of stuff.
Yeah, that's so true, isn't it? Because you do often think, but my grandchildren might one day want to see what my year one workbook was like. But if you've got 1,000, who are they to be able to discern between what is special and what is not? This is 666 ABC Radio Canberra. Alice Matthews with you for the Afternoons program. And before we get back to our interview with Susanne Tiber, professional organiser, I just want to give you a heads up that there has been a severe weather warning announced for Braidwood and Captain's Flat. That is for severe thunderstorms. It's also for large hailstones, damaging winds and heavy rainfall. And as I said, locations which may be affected do include Braidwood and Captain's Flat. So if you're listening from those areas, from those broadcast areas, keep in mind the severe thunderstorm warning for large hailstones, damaging winds and heavy rainfall. We will obviously keep you updated as the afternoon progresses. As I was mentioning, you are hearing from professional organiser Susanne Tiber, who is walking you through the job that she does and how she breaks it down. I would love to share with our listeners, Susanna, some practical tips, some simple things that people might be able to do, perhaps even as they listen, to go about starting this process.
That's the word, start. Start now. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing something whilst you're listening. There's nothing wrong with listening. Keep listening and do something. Start now, but start with something really small and really simple. So really small would be, and a great exercise in decluttering and organising, the second drawer in the kitchen. Most of us have the utensils in that one. There's always one spatula too many. There's always something broken. There's always something tangled. Just get it all out, declutter, and then organise. A tip there is to not get distracted by perfectionism and say, I can't do the second drawer in the kitchen because I want matching, fitting drawer dividers. Cut up a cardboard box, use yogurt containers, ice cream containers. It needs to be done, not done perfectly.
Yeah,
a lot of people take this, I need to be perfect, as an excuse not to do anything at all.
Yes, it can be, I guess, prohibitive when you look at it from that way.
Procrastination is perfectionism, and procrastination stops people from achieving anything.
How important is it, I guess, to keep things, daily maintenance, I guess, Susanna? Is this something that people do once a year and by that time it gets overwhelming? Do you have any advice on, I guess, the day-to-day maintenance of things and clutter?
Yes, again, it's kind of the small things. I used to declutter and organise my kitchen when my kids were carrying on with breakfast. I would do breakfast. They took longer. They had to do their lunches and their recess and pack all that. In that time, I had kind of 10 minutes. They were little. I could see them from the kitchen. I would do one shelf or half a shelf in the pantry. Then the kids are out of the house and your normal day starts. Next morning, you do the other half. So you do little bits and pieces all the time. And something like the top drawer in the kitchen, for example, once it starts shitting you, you just do something about it. There's too many crumbs with the little spoons. Get it all out, give it a wipe, declutter, organize. 10 minutes later, that one thing is done.
Yes. Oh, gosh. This is, I can tell you now, just so relatable. The kitchen drawers, so incredibly relatable, Susanne. Something you mentioned earlier was you help people organise their tasks as well. When you say that, do you mean the tasks as it relates to organising the house, or do you help people with admin tasks outside of the physical decluttering as well?
It's more the project managing of tasks and talking about it. What tasks are on your to-do list? How do you organize your to-do list? How do you write your to-do list? Do you even have one? What should be on them? What should not be on them? Time management is like a big part of what I do. It's because we all have 24 hours, but some people seem to have more time to do stuff than others. So that, again, is around focus and time management, and I do that too. I do a fair bit of meal planning with clients. I also run workshops on that, because that is actually everything. It is decluttering, it is organizing, it is time management, it's when do I go shopping, how much do I shop, where do I store it. That is the whole package.
Absolutely. I think we all need a Susanne in our lives, to be honest.
Yes. There are organisers everywhere in Australia.
Well, if people would like to I guess, read and learn more about a service like this, where can they go?
There is the Institute of Professional Organisers, IOPO. They have a website, IOPO, and there's a Find an Organiser directory. And you put in your area in Australia or New Zealand, and you find professional organiser that are registered, that have insurance. You read through their profile, you go to their website, and you find the one that fits your idea of what you want to do. We're all different.
We are.
All clients are different.
And it's so good to acknowledge that as well. Susanne, thank you so much for coming on the program to talk about this, because as I said, I think so many can relate. And I guess as time goes on, we just collect more and more things, and helping somebody to navigate that, I think, is very important. So thank you.
No worries. Thank you, Alice.
Cheers. Susanne Tiva there, professional organiser on the text line. Drinker Lang says, please help, please send me the professional organiser's contact details as I urgently need her help. Thank you. Yes, I think there might be a few people out there feeling like that. Now, the institute Susanne mentioned was the Institute of Professional Organisers, the IOPO. You can head to the website of the Institute of Professional Organisers. And as Susanne said, there is a directory where you can find an organiser. You can actually put in your area and look through the professionals that do this to find somebody that might fit your particular situation. Susanne was talking about how she is an in-house service. She physically goes to people's house, gets to know them, because, as she said, it's an intimate job, going in and going through somebody's things.